Good morning, everybody.
Good
morning.
All right.
Wait,
I'll
maybe-
sit in the front.
We drove here with the windows down, no air conditioning.
Nice.
Like the whole time, like, this is why we live here. I hope everybody's they're starting out the week on the right foot. And so we're going to look at the history of the church today. We're going to take it to the next step and start as we dive deep into the church and what it's all about. You know, it's good to look back and see, well, how did we get here? How did we get to this moment in time? The way we assembled and what we call ourselves and what's happened before. And so we do that by taking a look at the evolution of the assembly, of the called out, over the last 2,000 years. Something occurred to me as I was thinking about this, and maybe the elders can think on this. But in 8 years, we're going to celebrate the 2000th anniversary of the church. Did you ever think about that? We do a bicentennial and all that. A bi-millennial coming up here in 8 years. Good Lord willing, we'll all be here then. Yeah, something to think about. We can throw a whale of a party. What do you say? Anyway, that's interesting thought. You know, when did the church begin? We talked about this a little bit our first week. When did the church start? When can you say, what can I trace back the origins of the church to be? Is it a single event? Is it a series of events? Is it a moment in time? When Jesus came, so when he was born? Maybe. Yeah. The architect was born, maybe. Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Do you guys know what year Jesus was born, by the way? This is a little interesting bit of trivia.
In the middle of the year.
What's that?
Wasn't it in the middle of the year?
Well, what year do you think he was born? Do we know?
6 or 7 BC?
Yeah, probably 4, somewhere in that area. Yeah. When we are on the trivia for what it's worth, and you just get what you paid for this. We're on the Gregorian calendar, which they tried to set one at Jesus' birth. They were off a little bit. So it's about 4 BC. Jesus was born. That's the consensus. What we think was probably the year. But we do know that in 33 AD is when Jesus died. We know that. We have Roman records that will tell us that. And so we can trace back. So we can say right around that time frame, 33 AD, Jesus died. The apostles began their ministry. The day of Pentecost is often looked at as a day maybe when the church was born. And that was a calling out, right? It was the ministry begins. Somewhere around, we'd say 33 AD. That's a good number. Trace back, the Christian church is born, right? Something happens at about 70 AD. Does anybody know what happens there? Anybody say it loud, nice and loud.
Temple destroyed.
Yeah, temple's destroyed. 70 AD. So you could say that's when there was like a hard stop, you know, from we're going to go, the temple is not the thing anymore. It is, God's people do not gravitate around the temple. It's gone. It's wiped out. Jerusalem is eventually completely destroyed, I think around 126 AD. The Romans come back and finish the job. And that's when it's just really wiped out. In fact, the name Judea is eliminated in 126, I believe it is. 126, 128. Where it's not even called Judea anymore after that. It's called Syria Palestina. That's where you get the word Palestine from. So that's when the whole, Judaism is geographically eliminated. So in this early time right here, we have the Christian churches formed, and we are off and running. So, obviously Christianity was established, upon Jesus' death, resurrection, the ministry of the apostles going out. And the day of Pentecost is really a day that's kind of widely established as when the church began. So the apostolic age, just think about this. For that first moment in time, the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years, what's happening? What do you think's happening there?
Church is growing.
Church is growing. How is it growing?
Everybody's telling them about what happened.
Yeah, the word is spreading. Yeah? Who are the leaders of the church at that time? Who's leading this effort? Yeah, the apostles, yeah. So this time from 30 to 70 AD is generally considered the apostolic age, right? What else is happening during that time? It's very important for us today. What's happening during that time?
Scripture's still being written.
Scriptures are being written. Yeah, what we call the New Testament is
Being produced.
being produced. The live copies of it, right? So the apostles are not only spreading the word. We read about that in the book of Acts. We read about their efforts and what they're doing. But the New Testament scriptures we use today are all being written during that time period. We're thinking that the book of Revelation is the last one, somewhere 70 to 80 AD, somewhere in that time frame. So that's when it's done. And so this apostolic age is very important. Think about how important that is for the church. You've got not only these people walked with Jesus, right? And they're out there spreading the word. People saw his ministry, saw what was going on. They're spreading it. You've got the scriptures being written. And what kind of things are happening? What do you think they're talking about during that time? What kind of debates do you think went on during that time? What kind of debates went on?
Things they saw, things they heard,
Okay.
and they didn't have a radio or anything like that, so
Yeah.
everything was from person to person.
Word of mouth, right?
Letters.
Letters, okay?
Resurrection.
Talking about the
What is that?
resurrection, okay? Yes, ma'am.
How to live as a Christian.
Ooh, what's this Christian thing all about? Okay, to really kind of turbocharge that thought, who is this gospel for?
Everybody, not just.
Ah, we all on the same page with that? I mean, think about it. Go back to the original. We're 30 to 70 AD. We're in this realm here where the temple's still there. These apostles are all Jews. There's a real debate going on here, isn't there, about who should be receiving this gospel, right? Is it just to the Jews, or is it to everybody? Yeah, and if it's going to go to everybody, what kind of a mess is that going to make? Right? Just think about that for a second, right? Have you ever shared Jesus with somebody who has no idea what Christ is about, what a righteous life looks like? Have you ever done that?
Yes.
Is that a messy process or a very clean, sterile process?
Messy.
It can get kind of messy, right? I mean, I'm talking about my lifestyle. You're talking to a challenge my lifestyle, and my practices, and my beliefs, and my behaviors. You mean I've got to rethink differently? And we're all Americans. Imagine if you're going to go to different nationalities and nations and spread that. Whew, that can get pretty messy. Hang on just a second. I think Brad's had a thought. You have a thought, Brad?
Oh, I was just thinking that it could be hard or it could be easy depending on the person's heart.
Mhm.
And even a person who's very, very religious, like a very indoctrinated in Christian theology, can be very, very hard because it depends on their heart. Are they willing to let go?
Yeah. Let go of what? Let go of what? That's a great point.
The world.
The world that they grew up
Well, what they've been taught.
What they've been told, what they've been practicing, what they've been
Yes.
doing, their habits, their traditions, their
Taught.
eating behaviors, their celebration behaviors, their marriage behavior. I mean, think about that. All the things that I've been taught and my whole life growing up, my parents did, my grandparents did.
Yeah.
Everybody thought it was
Passed
okay,
down.
and now you're coming along telling me, whoa, what's this all about? I mean, you think about you see Paul, that's all through Paul's writings, right? He's going to these very pagan lands where they didn't have a Jewish tradition, right? I mean, he's telling them that's a lot of his writings are about. Hey, the reason I'm having to write this to you is because I got to kind of tell you what God expects of His people a little bit here, right? So that can get kind of messy. So there's a big debate early on about that. Did you ever thought back there?
I remember going door to door years ago, long time ago, and when we shared the gospel with a person, he wanted to be baptized immediately, and we came to the church and baptized him.
Yeah.
And it was the conviction of just hearing. You know, you don't know what he had heard before, but just listening to the Bible, he knew what he needed to do.
His heart was ready.
Yeah. Well, and he obviously understood that, hey, this is serious. I don't want to wait till 3
Right.
Sundays from now when we have our baptism service. What's he saying?
Right.
He's saying, let's get this done right now. What other kind? So if you're going to take this message out into the world, that baby is so beautiful. I'm sorry. That baby is so beautiful.
distraction.
I know, it's
No, we like those kind of distractions. We're good.
Oh, what a blessing. Dan, I lost my train of thought. What kind of things are you going to run into when you're going into the world? What's different about Christianity than the religious beliefs of the rest of the world? Give me an example. What's the big one?
Baptism.
Maybe.
I mean, not the sprinkling, not the happy thoughts and you're saying kind of
Okay,
stuff.
baptism. Give me another big one.
Christ was resurrected.
Okay, there's a resurrecting, there's a supernatural event here, okay?
Repentance.
Repentance.
You spread love.
Well, it's a love, okay?
You spread love.
Yes, it's a love-based philosophy.
I think it's rebirth.
Rebirth, yeah. These are all absolutely fundamental elements of the Christian faith. There's one thing that really made our faith different than the rest of the religions around the world. We serve one God.
Yeah.
Most every other religion was multi-theistic, polytheistic. And if you were, I've heard this about missionaries that go into some worlds, maybe you go to India or something, you're doing Hindu. It's no big deal to add one more God.
Right.
It's no big deal. Right? I mean, if you look at it that way, it's like, oh, it's just one more. Yeah, we add one more. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about these other things that you're talking about aren't real. You know, Paul talks about that, right? When he goes to Athens. And so this is what happens after this moment. Who's in charge? Who wiped Jerusalem out? The Romans. The Romans are in charge for several hundred years. Was Rome a monotheistic or a polytheistic society? Polytheistic.
Yeah.
Lots of gods.
They have many gods.
Many gods. In fact, it was no big deal to call the emperor a god. What's the big deal? I've already got 100 of them. Oh, you want to call him a god too? Okay, fine. Right?
Yeah.
Is that a problem for Christians?
Oh, yeah.
It's a problem. It's a problem. It's not. We're not just adding gods on here. It's like, wait a minute, hold on. We're against this whole concept. And that's where your big clash comes. It's not baptism. It's not the resurrection. I mean, they had supernatural things happening in there. It's this idea that, wait a minute, you are challenging the very fabric of religious thought in this amongst these people for hundreds and hundreds of years. And you're gonna come in and say there's only one God. This is where the big problem comes. So when you're, once a year when you celebrate the emperor and you light this candle or whatever, and you recognize his deity, well, we can't do that, right? And we don't have any. I mean, Christians lived a great life. They were very good people to have in your society, but they're challenging your very fabric of belief, and so that turns bad. And for a couple hundred years, it kind of gets worse and worse and worse to the point where Christianity is eventually illegal in the Roman Empire. And it gets bad, and you can read different accounts about how bad it was. Some accounts are inflated, lame, but other accounts are true. I mean, there was real persecution that went on. And what did that persecution serve to do?
Spread the gospel.
Yeah, it spread it, didn't it? It's like I imagine if I have a puddle of water on my tabletop, and I dab it up with a paper towel, I can make it go away. What happens if I go?
Goes everywhere.
It goes everywhere. If I go bang, what happens to the water? Right? And that's what happened. That was the effect. Right? It started going everywhere. And then there is a significant event happens here around 313. Anybody know what happens? Christianity is illegal in the Roman Empire. Okay? What happens? But I heard something.
It was Constantinople, wasn't it? Was it the Council?
Constantinople's a
Council
city.
of Nicene?
No, close.
That's later.
Getting there. You had it almost. You ever hear of somebody called Constantine?
Yeah.
Constantine was an emperor, Roman emperor, and he comes into power on the heels of a pretty intense persecution against the church. There's an emperor, Diocletian. He was really causing a lot of trouble for the Christians. I mean, basically making it virtually impossible to practice Christianity in the open. As the story goes, Constantine is getting ready. Now, he's the emperor now. He kind of inherited this. He's not really living that. He's not out to get Christians or anything. It's not his thing. He's actually fighting a war. And as the story goes, he has a vision. And in this vision, he sees a symbol, and he is told to take this symbol, put it on your swords, on your shields, and go into battle with this, follow this symbol. Anybody know what that symbol is?
Us.
This is very interesting. It's not the cross, it's close. I'm going to try and write this down for you here. It's kind of interesting. If you don't got it here. You ever wonder what the word Christ looks like in Greek?
Oh, fish.
That's Christ in Greek. Christos.
Wow.
Christos. The vision he has, now this is the story. This is the story that's passed down by the historians. Passed the story. That he had this vision to put the letter chi with rho on his shields. Put that on your shields, go into battle with that on your shields, and you will be victorious. In this sign you will conquer.
That means
That was
Christ, right?
Well, this is Christos. That's Greek for Christ.
This is
Christos.
shorthand for Christ.
These are the first two letters,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
I'm from Ohio. First
Yeah.
two letters.
Oh,
Right?
okay. Yeah.
You might be from
Arizona,
Michigan. I won't hold it against you. You know,
Yeah.
right? First two letters, right? First two letters. Go into war with the first two letters of Christ on your shield. You will conquer. He wins the battle. What do you think happens? He goes, hey,
Something to this.
something to this. Yeah. Now we don't know if that's true. That's the story that historians wrote down. But from that moment, he said, "We're going to tolerate all religions here. This isn't helping. There's nothing good to come out of fighting all these other religions. We're doing more internal strife than there is benefit from that." So he issues the Edict of Milan in 313, expressing tolerance for all religions. That's the watershed. And this story is the justification for doing that. Okay, and just take an objective view to it. This story is the justification for him announcing the Edict of Milan. Because that's his reason to do it. Think about it. If you're going to go and say, I'm going to tolerate all religions, and the people in your country are going to go, what are you doing that for? Why are you tolerating this monotheistic, these people that only follow one God? Why would you do that? That's wrong. How's he going to justify it? I had a vision. In my vision, it said, first two letters of Christos, you will conquer under that. We won. That's my reason, right?
Well, they would know if there had been shields that really.
He told them to put the shields on when they won,
Yeah.
but nobody knows whether he really had the vision or not.
Yeah. Oh, that's
You see what I'm saying? Only he would know that.
Could be.
What all other religions were there other than the old law, coming out of the old law?
Well, their Roman religion had Zeus, whatever it was, Jupiter and Saturn were the Roman
Olympians.
gods.
Hey, gods of war.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Greek gods, Zeus and Athena and Apollo and all those. Yeah, the Greek religions. All the pagans around them had all these monotheistic religions. Yeah. Yeah, they had. So, like I say, when you have many gods, what difference does it make if the emperor says, "Well, make me one too"? Okay.
Which emperor was it?
Constantine.
Sure.
From whom we get the name Constantinople, which is so the city was eventually, he founded the city of Constantinople, which is current Istanbul, Turkey. It became Byzantium later, now it's Istanbul. But Constantine, Edict of Milan, that's what allowed Christianity to be tolerated. And from there, it takes off. Now, the Council of Nicaea happens in 325. So right on the heels of that. So now Christianity is legalized. You think it was dead just because it was illegal?
No.
No.
No, in fact, it was as alive as there was. It was underground. It was hidden,
Yeah.
right? And so there were actually leaders in the church. There were bishops, we're going to study that word and what that means. That's just the word elder, okay, leader. So there were bishops, leaders in the church at that time. And in 325, they came out from underground and got together and got their thoughts organized. So imagine if you're all underground and you're hiding, just imagine how the church would function like that.
Fractured.
Fractured, perhaps? Yeah, because we can't openly communicate. We're copying these letters from these apostles from a couple centuries ago, and we're sharing them, but things can kind of we're not organized because we're all hiding, right?
Everything's in secret.
Everything's a secret. And just because he has this Edict of Milan in 313 doesn't mean it went on internet and everybody saw it right away. Right? How long do you think it took for that to get out?
Long time.
Years.
And even if it did take a few years, you think if you're hiding out in the hills of
How would you know?
Macedonia, you're going to believe that? You know what I mean?
It's a trick.
Yeah, it's a trick to get me out in the open, right? I mean, all that. So it took a while. So it basically took about, what is that, 12 years? Is my
Math.
12th grade math.
Yeah.
12 years for the leaders of the church to finally get together. Right? At this point, they get together. The Council of Nicaea was a gathering of Christian bishops to resolve some major controversy and establish what's called the Nicene Creed. So, you ever heard this idea that we don't follow creeds?
Mhm.
What do you think that means? What is a creed? Anybody know what a creed is?
A man-made.
Eat it.
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
written down.
It's a summary of beliefs that we're going to follow.
Yeah.
Right? You know, my creed is to, have barbecue weekly and sweet tea for lunch every day. That's my
Oh, yeah.
creed. I follow that. So creeds they're man-made. They're not. Now they can be well-intentioned and they can be grounded in biblical truths, but that's not your guiding philosophy, is it? What did we talk about last week? What was the main point of our conversation last week? What's our guiding? The Word. Yeah, that's right. But the Word is our creed document, right? Well, but remember, now you've got several hundred years have gone by. Does everybody have the copies of everything?
No,
No.
Is the Bible fully established by this point?
no.
It's not. Yeah. Not everybody has the documents. There might be people running around without the Gospel of John, right? Or without Paul's letters, right? So the Nicene Creed, the Council at Nicaea here, was an attempt to try and get everybody kind of organized, share some things, set some basic expectations down, set some basic things that we're going to follow, establish some truths. We could argue for weeks and weeks whether it was a good thing to do or a bad thing to do. I think the intention was good, right? Because it got the church out from the underground. But what happens in a couple hundred years? Well, check this out. The purpose of the Nicene Creed, or the Council of Nicaea. The council was called by Constantine, so he called these guys in. So looks like he's really believing this stuff. To address what was called the Arian controversy, A-R-I-A-N, capital A. A division in the church caused by the teaching of Arius of Alexandria. So he's gotten word now that, hey, wait a minute, there's some variations of teachings going on here. Just in a couple hundred years. We're not even 300 years removed, and there's already word that some churches, this preacher down here in Alexandria, has a gospel that's not quite what I understand, right? So he's trying to resolve that, okay? Arius taught that Jesus was a created being and not divine. Obviously, that was considered heretical by most church leaders. And the council's goal was to resolve this controversy in order to ensure the most loaded word in our history, I'm going to say.
Unity.
The goal was to restore unity. Does that sound like a noble goal?
Yes.
Can that go bad?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. In our soul.
How can unity be a really good thing? How is unity a great thing? Tell me the virtues of unity.
Agreeing.
When you're following the right thing.
What are the virtues of being unified?
We're all on the same
I don't know.
page.
We're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Same leaves.
True.
Powerful.
It's powerful because we're all singing the same message.
Stronger.
Yeah.
We're stronger together. There's peace and harmony. We're all getting along. There's no strife. Unity is a wonderful thing. Let's strive for unity. What's the price of unity?
Like,
We lose freedom, I guess.
Lose some freedom. Whose decision are we following here? Like whose
No one's in
message?
charge. There shouldn't be any human in charge.
Whose message are we speaking?
Right.
It's all great if the dictator's right, but if the dictator's wrong about something, then we're all, So what happens here in an effort to achieve unity? What happens around 600 AD? Do you know what happens here? What happens? Isolation. What church? Yeah. You could say Catholicism forms right around here. This is it. What is the purpose of that? What does the word Catholic even mean? Anybody even know what that word means?
Well, what?
Unitarian, basically. Universal.
Universal.
Unitarian, unity. You see what happens. If you, I'm not bashing on anybody, but what are some attributes of the Catholic Church? Just some attributes of that. If you were to describe it to somebody, what would you
A
describe?
head on earth, a priest on earth, so it would be the main.
You've got a single head.
Single head.
Single head.
Supposedly speaks to
The
God.
problem with Catholics, though, is that they consider themselves Christian. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard of say Christianity. I've heard a Catholic say Christianity is a philosophy, and Catholicism is a religion. I've heard that said. I'm not here to bake anybody or I'm just saying, what are some attributes of it? You've got a single head. You've got a single council. You've got structure. Everybody's marching to the same thing, right? You find a Roman Catholic church in Phoenix. It's speaking the same message as a Roman Catholic church in Italy. Right? Those are attributes of that. So if something goes wrong here, what happens to the whole thing?
It's
Yeah. Yeah. So you see this establishment in the effort to have unity. Right? That was the goal. And you can see why, here just a few hundred years, you had somebody preaching an errant gospel, and so let's get all together, let's start this, and where does this Council of Nicaea end up in less than 300 years? It ends up with the Catholic Church. Right? This effort to have a unified message and a controlled message. That was the goal. And now, some really good things came out of that. What are some really good things that came out of that? We can't just bash it and not recognize the good things. What's a really, really good thing that came out of that?
I would say the divinity of Jesus Christ.
That came out of the church?
No, the Nicaea.
Okay, they established that. Yes, that's very true. Yes, they said we're not going to take this is an errant gospel. This is error. To establish Christ as divine. What's a good thing that came out of the Catholic Church being formed at that time? Let's look at the benefit of this.
The message and the story of Jesus went all around the world.
Went all around the world. I mean, you ever drive up the coast of California? You can't drive 5 miles without a sand something. Sand, I can't even know all the towns around the coast of California. What are those things? Those are all
Missions.
missions. Those are all established missions by the Catholic Church. Yeah, I mean, we were down in Casa Grande, and you guys ever been down to Casa Grande, the big ruin down there?
Yeah.
That those guys came through there on their way to California, basically, and made it across the desert, found the coast, went up to the bend. I mean, spreading worldwide, absolutely. What else?
I can think of so many things that are bad.
We are all right there with you.
I'm gonna give him credit for this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give him credit for this.
King James, you're right.
Wow, no, that.
No, the
I'm giving them,
Bible.
yeah, forget the bottom, that. I'm giving them credit for that. They gathered everything together, worked on it, translated it, assembled it, compiled it. That's where they got everything together, got everything gathered up. Because imagine if you're if we're sitting here in Phoenix and we've got some writings, but I'm not in contact with the church in Florida or the church in Michigan, how can somebody's got to organize all this. Somebody's got to go and speak with some authority and gather all that stuff up. It's almost like you had to have that. You had to have somebody speaking with authority and gathering it all together and making some decisions.
Did they not add to it? Did they not have more books?
Well, hold on to that.
Bible?
Hold on to that. Hold on to that. We can go into canon if you want. Hang on to that talk. And that's a good. They do have more.
That was exactly what I was
Okay,
going to
yeah.
ask.
Yeah.
That was
But
exactly.
the 27 New Testament books, they actually made some hard decisions there. Now, you're referring to the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha, the whole thing means it's outside or it's the others, right? So there are some others that they carried along, but there were some canon efforts that really solidified and settled down these 27 books. The Hebrew Bible was already established. That was established somewhere around 400 BC or so. But this work right here to do that, there's some good work there. So by the 4th century, so now we're talking about even before that, the canon is starting to lock in. And there was a lot of argument there about which books should be included, which should be left out. So that work all starts here in the late 300s and then is finalized. It's done. There's another big canon. So you could argue that. See, I'm not a historian on the Catholic Church, but in the 1400s is when they established on kind of the Protestant Bible that we use today and leave the apocryphal books out. That happened around 14 and some change. That's not. So any thoughts about this first few hundred years of the church and what was going on? Share some thoughts or some takeaways. What's the good?
We survived.
We survived it.
Yeah, but the word still was. I mean, even though through all the what they went through, the tribulation, the church was still
In fact,
there.
it probably grew and became even stronger during that. Do you ever feel like the church does better in times of trouble?
Yes.
You ever feel that? Remember after 9/11?
Yes.
I mean, like when the church after
Wait,
9/11?
after this week. After this week,
Yeah.
here
Well, I wonder
we
if the church attendance is higher today
I'm
than it
sure
was
it
last
is.
Sunday. Yeah. It seems like in times of trouble, the church gets supercharged or something, right? And when we have it kind of easy, we get kind of fat and lazy and sloppy and flabby. It's almost like we need a little.
It reminds us of what's important.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's right. What's important. So there was, imagine the struggle that went by, and it became stronger, and these guys got it together, and they really made it a substantial force to the point that it became the official religion of the Roman Empire. I mean, just think about that. That's how strong it got. That the leaders of the Roman Empire said, "We want this as our official religion." That's a pretty good track record. Yes.
You know, it's interesting. With all the religions in the world, why is the Christian church, the Christians, why are they the most persecuted? And then when you think about it in the light of God's word, it's because if you're just looking at like children watching a puppet show, when they watch a puppet show, they're focused on the puppet. But you and I as adults know that there's a hand underneath there, and it's Satan. There's a spiritual battle going on, and it's Satan that causes the persecution. And that's why, though the church can spread and it can go all around the world, we're going to be persecuted. This is the reason why the things that Charlie Kirk was shot, because he was espousing Christian values. If we just say, oh, it's because of this, it's because of that, no, it's because Satan's hand. There's a battle going on that we cannot see.
Well, that's why
And it's Satan attacking
that's why
Christianity.
the Book of Revelation is there for us, I believe.
Yeah.
It's so important to us because he can do all these tricks and trouble stuff behind the scenes, but at the end of the day,
We know
you know,
who
victory belongs to the Lord, right? That's the encouraging thing we take. And yeah, I mean, even Christ dying on the cross. I mean, you guys have all seen the Passion of Christ, right? Yeah. That kind of reads as Satan was behind that, but he was just helping to accomplish something greater, right? And that's looking at the big picture, and I think that's what we as believers are called to do: is look at the big picture and see it working out. You know, yeah, good thought, very good thought. Yeah, good stuff. So by the 600s here, we have a kind of a unified church starting to consolidate. You've got the canon. The New Testament canon is pretty much locked in by this point. There are some outlying books that will not survive scrutiny, but there are lots that have been eliminated. You can read about those. The Gospel of Peter,
Right.
Gospel of Thomas, things like that. That we're not really sure when these were written, but they kind of float in and out. And so, you know, you could have a great study on that. If you've never studied the canon of scriptures, highly recommend you do that. It's really a wonderful journey to understand how these guys got to this point of making these kind of decisions. We talked a bit about that last week. So, from about mid-400s to mid-800s, we have this period of time called the early Middle Ages. Here's where the gospel is spread throughout Europe. It's being integrated with political structure. Okay? You know, this is where I've always kind of thought, we got to be careful what we wish for here. You know, we're talking about, let's elect godly representatives, right? Absolutely. But at what point do you want it interconnecting and mixing in and getting entangled in political things? This is a great example right here where things can start to go wrong when you can't see the difference between the two. So we've always got to be a little bit cautious. My 2 cents. So the power of the church, resistance to Muslim and Lombard invasions of Europe, along with monasticism now starts here in this period of time, from the 600s to mid-800s. Those are the dominating factors. Islam is rising. Islam starts, what, mid-600s, I think? Anybody ever studied Islam? I think it's mid-600s. So by this 800s, you're seeing a real collision here between these two worldviews. So that's up until about 842. You've got this monasticism spreading into the pagan Germanic tribes in the north and things like that taking place. And then from about 842 to 1300, we would call this the High Middle Ages. This is where the Roman Catholic Church consolidates its power. Many crusades take place. What are the crusades?
Find back the Muslims from
Yeah.
Caliphate.
Yeah, in a nutshell, trying to reclaim the Holy Lands,
Yeah.
you know, from the Muslims. Because where the Holy Land is? Got a map in here? Got maps all over the place. So sits right in the middle of Muslim-dominated territory. Right?
Was really that strong?
Say it again.
Was the Muslims really that strong?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It took over.
I'm sorry, this is all new to me.
Yeah, they were some bad dudes.
It
They were
took
tough.
over the
Yeah.
whole known world.
They put some good armies. They went all the way. They went all. If you ever, maybe we'll bring in a map and show a map of the spread of Islam.
They came in.
If you, I'm not a good artist, but this is kind of cool.
It is.
I think right there. If you look at, so I'm going to do my best here. This is the Mediterranean coast. Up, this is Judea here. Okay, across. This is Italy, Spain. Okay, that's sorry.
Hey.
We
So
understand.
they went. So here's Constantinople, right? This is a little bit of a isthmus here. They got stopped right there. Couldn't make it across there. But they went all the way across North Africa, all the way into Spain. They got right there and got cut off. I mean, they were coming in the back door. It was a close run thing. So the Crusades were an effort to take the Holy Land back, basically. So imagine it's part of your political structure. You've got kings that are Christian emperors, and I'm going to go regain the Holy Land back from the
heathen.
However they looked at the Muslims at the time, right? We're going to go take this land back from them, and some went well and some went disastrous, right?
Do y'all know when the Quran is the Muslims, right? They got the Quran. Did they have the Quran back then too?
Well, yeah, I mean, Muhammad. I'm not a student of Islam.
I'm not either.
Wrote the Quran in the 600s, I believe. So yeah, it spread pretty good. You know, yeah.
Started after Jesus.
Yeah, it was 600 years later. Yeah. So they're, so they are a monotheistic religion. They worship, if you listen to them, the same God. They view Jesus as a prophet.
He's not the same God.
Well, they would call it the same in their mind, right? They think they're prophet because they trace their lineage back to Ishmael and Abraham, right? So, but if you look at again, not to criticize. I'm not here to criticize. I'm here to kind of give you facts. The Quran is written by one person. How many people wrote the Bible? How many authors? How many authors? 40?
Right.
I kind of like something written by a lot of people over 1,600 years
Yes.
versus one guy over 2 years,
The Book of Mormon.
The Book of Mormon.
right? So you see some differences, right?
Yeah.
So this period of time here is really defined by this battle against Islam and consolidation of the Catholic Church's power in Europe. That's what's happening in this. We call this here the High Middle Ages. So you've got the Catholic Church very, very strong. Islam coming on very, very strong. Pope Gregory VII really establishes the boundaries of the Roman Empire during this time. And both church and state establish legal jurisdiction over things. You might get taxed by both the church and the king. Just imagine the confusion. Right? That can get kind of crazy. So any thoughts about that? We made it up almost halfway here. A little over halfway
Nothing
here.
has changed much in that the Muslims are still on the same path. Jihad, worldwide domination. They're already taking over Europe, and they want to take over the world. This nation is a world power. They want this,
They have a,
so they haven't changed. If you go on the internet, you can watch like this video of how the Muslim empire grew and then shrank as they were being fought back by the many different nations trying to fight back the jihad, and it's happening today. So it's nothing new.
yeah. I mean, again, I'm trying to give you the contrasts between these two. You know, what were some of the forces acting on the church at that time? They definitely expand through conquest. That's been their history, and there was a pressure coming in at that
So
time.
my question is, this was all, the Catholic Church was the one that did that. So where were
Primary.
we? Where were we
Well,
when all that was going on?
who's the we you're talking
The Christian, the Christian church, we weren't part of that.
No.
But that was the Catholic Church that did the.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm trying to, great question. I'm trying to show you a trace to get to where we are today.
right.
Okay? We
Mhm.
Yes.
came through this thread.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the thread we came through.
Right.
Now, so I mean, a big question that's always asked, I think is what you're going to, where you're going. Were there Christians outside the Catholic Church during this time?
So how did that?
Yes. Where did the Ethiopian eunuch go? Where did he go? Where was Ethiopia?
Yeah.
Was Ethiopia in Europe?
No.
No. Where's Ethiopia? Africa.
Yeah.
He took he something was going on down there.
Yeah.
Right? Did you ever hear of Coptic Christians?
Yes.
What are Coptic Christians?
Yeah, heard that.
Never. Yeah, that's okay. It's all good. That's why we're talking. No, that's why we're talking. Coptic. Anybody know what the word Coptic means? These are Christians in Egypt. Rome didn't have control of Egypt at this time. Well, no.
No.
At this time, they did not. Okay, so there were Christians all over the place that were outside Rome's influence, the Catholic Church's influence. Okay, and they have their own thread.
Yeah.
They have their own threads that may have gone somewhere. Our church that we have today, where we are, did not come from that thread. Okay, that's not the thread that led us where we are. So I'm trying to connect this to how we got to where we are. Right? You could have a great conversation about where did the church go and all this stuff.
Well, and the reason I asked was because there's so much of Catholicism that's not what we believe.
Yeah.
That they follow, that they made Mary be on the same plane as Jesus. I mean, all that. So we had to have been part of that, but not part of that. We had to have been maybe off to the side because we didn't really believe all this stuff.
Yep. So something happens right about here. I'm going to skip.
When did the original Church of Christ come from?
Hang on. 5 minutes.
Renaissance.
Gotta cover this
Okay?
fast.
That covers fast. So, I'll answer that question in 5 minutes. So, what happens here about 1500?
The printing press.
Okay, printing press. Ooh, that's a nice thing.
Yeah.
What happens in the church?
Martin Luther's thesis.
Yeah, we've had the Catholic Church baking here now, doing its thing for about 1,200 years, 1,100 years, and some people started to say, you know, what we're doing here really isn't what I'm reading in this Bible that you've assembled here. I'm reading all kinds of things. And Martin Luther was a major leader in that thought, where he went and said, hey, I'm going to push back a little bit against, and that started what was called the Reformation movement. Reformation, reform. I want to reform the church. We got to reform it. It wasn't trying to abolish the Pope. It wasn't trying to do any of that kind of stuff. It was we got to reform. Maybe the Pope is not scripture. Maybe he's looking at that and saying, I'm questioning that. I don't know what all his thesis was. I've never really studied Martin Luther. But he's saying, we need to reform this a little bit. We're not really going on the right direction anymore. That's where the Protestant church starts to evolve and break off from the Catholic Church. Protestant. What word is in the word Protestant? Protest. It's protesting against the Catholic Church and where it's going. Right? So now it starts to break right there. You could have a line come off here and it starts to break. Okay? What else is happening around this 1500? That look like a familiar, anybody know a date that's really close to that?
1492.
That's in
No, I
1492.
was saying that Columbus sailed the
Yeah.
ocean blue in 1492.
What happens here?
Very
The New World
Yeah.
is discovered, starts to be colonized. People are, right, you have churches dominating political structure in Europe, and there's a whole bunch of people in the next couple of years that say, I want out of here, right? In fact, I want out of here so bad, I'm going to get on a rickety boat and go for a month out across the deep. So it might not survive this,
Yeah.
but it's better than staying here,
Yes.
right? And they go over to get away from this stuff,
Yeah.
and they found the nation, basically. That's the whole history of us, right? And around 1750 now, the religious leaders over here start to go, we need more than just reforming. We need, what's the word?
Restoring.
Restoring. And these are the seeds of the church that we have today. It's a group of people around 1750 to 1815 who said, we're going to start a movement to restore the church. To what? Restore it to what?
To the original, go back
To-
to the Bible.
To as far back as we can go as possible. Let's forget about creeds. Let's forget about all this stuff back here. Let's forget about somebody's idea. Let's go back and say, let's just use, all this work went in to make these scriptures that we can use, just translate into our language. What's it tell us? Let's restore to that. Restore to that first century template as much as we possibly can in a modern age, right? You're in a different world in 1800, right, than it was in 33. Completely different world. But we can try and restore the church back as far as we can go. The Restoration movement begins right about there. Now, the Restoration movement has, I'll just finish this real quick, has a lot of different tentacles come off it. And originally, there was a group called the Christian Church. Remember now, let me say this real quick. These leaders of this Restoration movement were either Presbyterian, Methodist, or Baptist. That's who they were the Protestant, the major Protestant.
Non-Catholic.
Non-Catholic, they came out of the Protestant world. Presbyterian, Methodist, there was some Lutheran in there,
Baptist.
and Baptist, okay? They started this thing called, they looked at it and said, well, first of all, what are we calling ourselves? Let's call ourselves Christians. Christian church, or some of them are called the Disciples of Christ. Okay? What happens between 1815 and 1906? What's a big event? Big event. Biggest event in our history. Between 1815 and 1906. Civil War. Civil War's fought. You come out of the Civil War, and you got North, South, not really seeing eye to eye. Gotta have some unity. All that happens again, and there is another break right here. And this is where the Church of Christ, what we know it today, there's some people that said, you know what? Let's call ourselves the biblical term Church of Christ. This was predominantly in the South. And in the North, they stayed Disciples of Christ. And in this discussion, we'll talk about it in the coming weeks, it's mainly about unity versus supremacy of the Scriptures. That was the argument that was had. Unity versus supremacy of the Scriptures. And one of the main things was instrumental music. Okay? Instrumental music was one of the main things. We have fought this battle many times in our history.
Yes.
Right? And we'll talk about that in the coming weeks. But that takes us to 1906, and that is where the men and women took up and said, you know, we really should have the name that is given to us in the Scriptures. We're a Christ Church, the Church of Christ. And that's where that name came from. It came out of a movement to restore the church to its original first century. Thoughts and questions to wrap us up? Yes?
It's amazing the way you put that together. In 1522, which is really,
Uh-huh.
is when Tyndale made
Oh.
the Bible
Yeah.
available to every man. Every man can have the Bible. And that's really is what made the Restoration movement have its power.
Yeah.
Because now we had the Bible in our
Unity
own
of Scripture.
hands.
Yeah.
And nobody had to tell us what it said.
Yeah, having a Bible that we can read in our own language that I can purchase, it's readily available. It's widely accepted. The King James Version was widely accepted. There weren't any arguments about it. Every group from any denomination could accept it. Yeah, you had a Bible that we could all settle on. Imagine if couldn't even agree on the Bible we were reading. How hard would it be for us to get to coordinate, right? So wrap us up, sir. Yes.
Does it matter? Okay, you know there's so many versions of the Bible. And I be trying to read them, and then like some of them make sense, some don't. Does it matter what version you read?
It can, yes. I'll say that.
So
Yes.
if I'm
But that's
asking,
not the purpose of this.
what version should I read?
Let's save that for next week. Can we save that for next week? All right, come back next week. That's a teaser for next week. John, wrap us up.
Just real clearly, I know you did this quickly and all that, but we have to understand that the denominational churches like Baptist, Lutheran, Methodist, Presbyterian, they were all under the Reformation movement.
Yep.
They were feeding off of Martin Luther and splitting away from the Catholic Church to reform but not restore.
That's right.
And it was, like you said, out of those people, out of the Presbyterians and Methodists, that the Restorationists came to then restore the church
Yeah.
back to the original.
Exactly. Thank you for, I'm sorry. Thank you. Well, thank you all very much. Appreciate you hanging in there through a journey. We'll summarize it next week, kind of put a bow on it, and we'll take it next step, all right? Thank you all, sir.
Thank you.
very much.
I will.
Wow.